been very brisk this morning up here in Canada, in southeastern Ontario, on the river, on the St. Lawrence River. It's like September, and suddenly it's not summer anymore, and you can feel it in your bones that winter is coming. But I'm all set. I'm ready for it. But anyway, today's episode is I've got some news about the Tribe magazine photographic archive. Now, if you'll remember, go back a few episodes, that I ran a fundraising campaign called Preserve the Beat to raise money to help digitize the Tribe magazine photographic collection. And the whole goal was to preserve and protect it for Canadians of the future to see and enjoy. And I've got some news. I have found a final place for the collection where it will go. And I'm really happy about it. So I'm going to describe that in this episode. There'll be a little bit of jewelry design in it too, so stick around for that. But for the most part, this is going to be about the archival protection of an important Canadian magazine. This is a show about jewelry, why we wear it, why it matters, how it's made, and what it means. I'm Alex D, and I turn cannabis into gold. I make mind-blowing jewelry in gold, silver, and platinum from cannabis plants here in Canada for stage, screen, for people who want to rock crazy jewelry. I'm the Cannabis Goldsmith. Now, if you'll remember, I published Tribe from 1993 till about 2005. It was a newsprint monthly magazine that circulated in Canada, and it was entirely focused on DJ culture, electronic music, which later grew into the rave scene, a huge rave scene in the 90s in Canada. This is well before social media, smartphones, everyone has moved into the digital space, basically. But this was before the digital space. This was before the internet was really widely adopted in Canada. And we were there with Tribe magazine covering the scene, covering the DJ culture scene and the new music. But, people were making music using computers to dance to, and records and sampling and all that stuff. And that's what I wanted to cover with this magazine. So that's what we did. And the events associated with that, the people, it was just an amazing record of a time in history that no one else was looking at, because all the alternative weeklies of the time, like you had them in the States too, things like the Village Voice or whatever they had a particular slant on politics and on basically they had a particular angle, and they all seemed to be focused at the time on grunge bands or guitar bands, or they had no idea about DJ culture or any of that stuff until the late 90s. They missed it, and we were there, and I was capturing it all in photographs. So as a result, I have between 10 and 12,000 photographs on slides and negatives of this whole culture in Canada, this rave culture, this electronic music culture, this DJ culture. And this is a hugely important, significant collection. I shot it all except for a few photographs that were coming in from our columnists from the different provinces. So that's the collection. It's massive. It's valuable. It's rare. It shows, to give you an idea what this is about, at the same time as this was going on in Canada, similar scenes were going on around the world. So they were being documented, but by a variety of different photographers, and not in one place like this. So this collection is a kind of a one huge set of photographs that describe this period. My goal was to find a place where it could go, first off, to be preserved for the future so that it would last and last and last. That was part of my goal. I want to preserve it so future Canadians and people around the world can see this collection, right? And it's important. And then I didn't want them to have to pay to do it, which is really hard to find a place that can do this, right? Or I wanted the cost to be very low. The barrier for somebody seeing these photographs to do research, I want it to be very low. I don't want it tucked behind some paywall somewhere. That's what I'm trying to say here. So that was the criteria for this. I consider this collection culturally significant and important to the history of Canadian music, and many people do in the country. So in order to preserve this collection, I started a fundraising campaign and raised, I guess, after the Indiegogo people took their cut out, it was like raised about just over $11,000, and I put in that same amount out of my own pocket. And I got enough money together to buy all the gear needed to digitize the collection. Now, I've purchased all the gear. I've built an editing suite now, a photo editing suite. It's essentially a room with this gear in it and controlled lighting, ambient lighting, and everything so that I can correct the colors on the screen when I digitize these slides and negatives. So if the money has been spent, I'm ready to go. My goal is to digitize the collection starting over the winter when it's cooler and when there's not much else to do. Hopefully, I'll be working, starting to digitize over the winter. The news. Oh, you're wondering what the news is, right? Well, I'm going to get to the news in a minute because I found a place for the collection once it's digitized. This whole process of trying to raise the funds and to try and prepare the collection well, this is my primary concern for this work, right? This is my life's work as a young man, yes, but more important than that, it's a record of a lost culture in Canada, a lost civilization that later grew into the electronic music culture we know today in Canada. And that includes everything from hip-hop to trance to jungle to house music, all the music being produced by computers and stuff in Canada and inventive individuals and DJs. That's what this collection is about, and that's why it needs to be preserved and protected. When I decided to do this, I guess about 5 years ago, I got an idea into my head to do this. Like, okay, I got to preserve and protect this. And what triggered that is I'm getting old, right? And people in the scene, many of the people who are pictured in these photographs are not with us anymore. And there's a sense that we're all getting older. A lot of the people in these photographs who were young raver kids are now 50 years old, right? So a lot of time has passed, and these photos have not been seen. So this is what makes them important, and this is why this project is critical, I think, for the history of Canada. But anyway, during my quest for money to do the digitization, the people ask me, why didn't I just give the whole boxes of slides to whoever gets it and let them worry about it? Now this is what usually happens, right? The photographer dies. There's a box of photographs that's discovered, a box of negatives. Somebody maybe scans a few and discovers this collection, and then here, wow, this is what happened to Vivian Mayer's collection, right? If you search her photographs are amazing. But all that was recovered after the fact, pretty much. Chance, basically, that her stuff was discovered. I think there's a movie called Finding Vivian Mayer. You should watch that. It's really good. But in this case, with these photographs, it's a known defined thing. It's part of a cultural record of Canada. Now, when I was looking for money, I thought I'm going to go after the Heritage Minister for money for this because I didn't need a lot of money in total, just like $50,000 to do this project right. And the Heritage Minister it's her mandate, it's her job to protect collections like this. And you know what? They're not at all. The federal government of Canada, the current federal government, is not interested at all in the protection of Canadian music or culture, Canadian music history or Canadian culture. They're not interested in any of that. She declined. She said the heritage minister said she had no budget for, $50,000 to these people is nothing, right? Like, this is the amount of money they spend on coffee at the 3-day retreat to get ideas to help the middle class, right? They spend $50,000 on fucking coffee for a weekend. Like, no, there's no money for the preservation of this important cultural archive. But instead, she sent me a response saying that, I could get a tax receipt if I partnered with some gallery or whatever, and let them do the work. And I don't want tax receipts. I don't want some financial scam. This government is all about financial scamming of Canadians. Like, look, I just needed a bit of money to help digitize this project, and I would put in some myself. And the community, I ended up raising it from the community directly through Indiegogo. Thank you, community, for helping. But the government here, the Canadian government, whose job is to protect such important work, our heritage minister, the ministry's not even interested. They're more interested in controlling the communications of Canadians. They're not at all interested in supporting Canadian culture. This is disgusting, in my opinion. But anyway, I'm not one to wait around for shit like this. It's like, look, this really upset me, so I went and raised the money from the community as much as I could and put in the rest myself. Now, I've built an editing suite that wasn't like the dream suite that I wanted, but it'll get the job done and done right. So this is what we've built with this money and how the digitization is going to happen. Now, you're still wondering, of course, where this collection is going to go. Well, on Friday, I got off the phone with the person who is in charge of acquiring collections for the Toronto Archive. We had an amazing conversation on Friday. They've agreed to take the entire Tribe photographic archive and add it to the Toronto Archives. Now, what this means, I'll explain what it means to me, but more importantly, what it means to you as the people who will be seeing these photos in the future. Now, for me, it preserves the collection. So right away, when they get it, it'll be preserved. Also, they will make it available for free forever for research purposes, right? And to see. So these images will be visible as part of the Toronto Archive. Maybe some of you have seen in Canada anyway, you've seen images going across your social media of older shots of Toronto, maybe from the 1960s, the CNE or whatever, these kind of images that sometimes will cross your social media feed. And there'll be a line on the bottom where from the Toronto Archives describing what the photo is. And you'll get to see pieces of Toronto history that are captured by the archive for research and for study into the culture of the city. Now, this collection is ideal for that because it documents parts of Toronto that are now covered in condo developments. Like in this collection, there are the only known photographs of the rave at the CN Tower, the only known photographs of the raves at the Ontario Science Centre, which is now being shut down by the Premier, by Doug Ford, to give to his fellow buddies, his building contractor friends. But so that's gone. So there won't be any any science center left. But these are photos of the raves inside the only known photographs of this. Okay, there are photos of inside events that are in buildings that are no longer in existence. It's a record of the fashion of the day. It's a record of the DJs and the entertainers and this whole area of this whole scene that was not covered by other publications of the time. So it's an incredibly important, it's a missing piece of Toronto culture and a hidden piece that Canadians, generally speaking, might not be aware of. Also, it's been a long time. It happened a long time ago, right? It happened a long time ago. You might think, oh, the 90s was just yesterday. It wasn't. It was a long time ago. The people in these photographs now are 50 years old. Some of them older, right? They have kids. The kids are interested in seeing what their parents were up to when they were younger. You know, what Canada looked like. In the future, people are going to look at these photos when they're researching DJs or electronic music or nightclubs in the of the day in Toronto, and they're going to find these photos and they'll be able to research and see them. Now, this is the conversation I had with Toronto Archives on Friday, and this is why I think it's going to be excellent for them to have this collection. I am very, very happy with this. For them, it's unusual because normally they just get a box of slides and they have to sort it out after and then put the data on them and scan them. And as a result, they and other archives and galleries around the world they have such a back order of stuff that they have to scan that'll take decades to get it done, right? Like most of these entities, they have so much stuff that they have to digitize that I don't want to give them that burden. I want to do the digitization myself so that it's done appropriately. As the photographer of these images, I can do the best digitization of them because I know what I wanted to achieve with the photograph. Now, once I digitize it, and this is something that the Toronto Archives doesn't have to do because I've done it. And the trick here is to be able to work with them, and they've agreed so far on the phone call anyway, that they've agreed to set me up with their technical people so that I can match the data fields when I scan these images, so it'll be easier for them to understand. It'll be ready to go for them, basically. It'll be on Blu-ray discs, and they'll be able to get the collection as film and as negatives. They're going to get that too, but they're also going to get digitized images by me, the photographer, that accurately reflect the images. That's the benefit of me giving them digitized images. And that's something archives generally don't get, right? They don't get the photographer preparing the images for them properly and all this, right? So that was part of the reason for building this suite, right? I want the photographs to be used. I want them to be seen, and they won't be seen if they're in a box in slides somewhere at a museum or a gallery, and nobody's going to see them. But in this case, they'll be ready to inject into the database of the Toronto Archives and be visible as soon as they get them, and or they're pretty close to as soon as they get them, because they'll be involved in the process with me of preparing the work. So that's why this is a good fit also. Now, I had some concerns because I'm a kind of a curmudgeon, but more than that, I'm an artist, and I want my work taken seriously. So I had some concerns about politicians impacting the work. Like, what's the relationship between the mayor or the city councilors and the Toronto Archives? Now, that was a question I had for them. I don't want some weird mayor getting elected by making false promises in the future or now or whatever, and getting elected and then deciding they don't want any certain type of work in the archives. So this can't happen, apparently, because the Toronto Archives is funded by the city charter as a record-keeping entity, and it's critical for the actual city, right? It's absolutely critical, as a record of what's going on at the city, and also a historical record about the city. So it's got there's a separation, an arm's lengthness that I like about this whole thing too. So as I said earlier about the case in Canada with our federal heritage ministry, everything there is at the whim of the heritage minister. The National Gallery is under her whim, or whoever is there. They can decide not to fund it, or to fund it less, or to exert influence, saying only certain things could be funded, like with putting DEI layers on top of everything, and then putting people in place that are friendly to the government who direct the funds from the DEI layered programs to friends of the government. All this stuff is going on at the federal level. It's just disgusting for artists. Most artists don't see it. They can't be bothered to deal with it. They quit. They give up, and they throw their work in the garbage rather than deal with the federal heritage ministry. That shouldn't be like that. They should be supporting Canadian culture. They should be supporting Canadian culture. I've got letters, the letters I wrote to the heritage minister, and the responses. All that's going to be probably in the first book I publish with these photos. Now, before the Toronto Archive gets them, they're going to get them after I'm gone. So this is the thing. I'm preparing this work. So when I'm gone, as soon as I'm gone, they're going to get the work, and they'll have it, and it'll be ready to go. Now, before then, however, okay, I'm touching wood here. Before then, however, I want to put out a book or two about this moment in Canadian history. Really a good high-end photography books about this, our scene and our culture and our music and our people in Canada in the 90s. And so that's what as I digitize, I'll be setting aside photographs for the books. And also, I'm recording video as I do this. So I'm hopefully going to put out a documentary film from the still photography of Tribe magazine. Now, this is all before the Toronto Archives gets it. So when they get it, there'll be a book out, and maybe a documentary, or a book or two out, and maybe a documentary film about this scene. But the photographs are going to be at the Toronto Archives. So that's the plan. That's the goal. So you all know what's happening with these photographs. And now, as for the digitization process, it's really, it's simple, but it's so complicated. Like, each image has to be photographed. I'm going to rephotograph each image with a high-resolution camera. That's the easy part. The harder part is cleaning and correcting that digital file so that it matches the slide or negative. So I'll be taking dust off it, making sure the colors match, and sharpening it a little. But that's it. Nothing more than that, really. I want to be honest and true to the original photograph that I shot in the 90s. And this is the digitization that I'm going to be doing. So that's how it's going to work, one by one, going through these photographs. Now, if you're wondering how many, there are, as I said, 10 to 12,000, but I'm going to cull them down to maybe 1,000 or 1,200 of the best. And then for books, I'm going to peel off maybe, I don't know, how many will go in a book, 100 in a book, something like that. Peel off some for books. And then I'm going to start engaging with the National Gallery about some of the portraits to see if they want some of the portraits from this collection, because the portraits, the Raver portraits, are just like amazing. They're so good. And they're important for Canadian culture too. So I'm going to engage with them to see if they want a couple of these images. If not, fine. That's okay. I'm sure others will. Now, I've had interest from foreign entities, but I'm so happy that I've got this collection is going to remain in Canada, where it will be safe, preserved, and available for free. So that was the plan. So all you people who donated to the Preserve the Beat campaign, your money has been spent, and also I've matched it, and we're almost ready to go. I need some hard disks. I'm out of money, but I need about, I guess, $1,200 to buy a NAS hard disks, 5 big hard drives that we can put in an array to as safety while I'm doing this digitization to store the images before we burn them on Blu-rays, like, where they're safe. So I still need to buy 5, I guess 12 terabyte NAS drives. So that's what I'm looking for. But, it'll come. Somebody will donate the money, or I'll figure out a way to do it to preserve and protect this important Canadian archive. Shame on the Heritage Ministry of Canada and this current government for showing no interest in preserving Canadian culture. They're interested in preserving their own jobs. That's what they're interested in doing. Fuck them. Let's protect the work. I started Tribe magazine on my own. I couldn't get money from anybody, so I did it myself. And couldn't get money from the government to do this, so figured out a way to do it. I mean, this is how we are in our scene. Nobody was playing the music we liked, so we made our own. And nobody was producing a magazine that we wanted to read, so we made our own. Nobody was DJing with the records that we wanted to play, so we became DJs. This is who we are. This is what Tribe is about. So anyway, that's the story. We have a home. I'm so grateful to the Toronto Archives for working with me on this important project. And it'll be I have a sense that these are going to be the most seen images in their collection. I have a sense that this is good. If they track the number of and I'm sure they do, the number of downloads or views or whatever of their collection, this is going to be people are going to be looking at these images. So I'm so happy and grateful that there's a final place for these photographs. But the work is just beginning. So that winter is going to be a digitization. Oh yeah, here we go. We're starting. But anyway, that's it. Now for the jewelry stuff. Oh my God, I'm finally back in the saddle making jewelry. I shipped off a sterling silver hockey stick to a client in the U.S. yesterday, and I'm redesigning another hockey stick for our Christmas period. And we make these sterling silver hockey sticks. They're about 6 inches long, and people like them as gifts, to give them as gifts, or to people who are hockey fans or who love hockey. It's a small little stick made of sterling silver, and you'll find the people that get them, they end up playing hockey on their desks with coins and stuff with these things. Why would anyone get one? Well, because you can play desk hockey with them. That's why. But anyway, the hockey stick design is going to modify a little bit. The plants, the weed plants, I've got 3 outdoor weed plants that are in flower now. I don't know, the weather is changing so quickly now. I hope the frost doesn't do them in before they fully mature. But anyway, the leaves are looking better on the plants for making jewelry pieces now. The leaf shape is finally getting to the point where I can do work on making leaf designs for rings, for amazing rings. My vacuum pump, which I did a whole episode on the beauty of vacuum pumps. Well, my vacuum pump died. And so I'm trying to find somebody in the area to fix it, and that could be a problem. So I ordered a cheap one online, a cheaper one. We'll see if it lasts until I can get the other one fixed. And as I said before, I need these pumps I use these silicone compounds, and the pumps suck all the bubbles out of the silicone, so the molds are more accurate. That's what I use them for. So hopefully the new vacuum pump, or the cheap new vacuum pump, will come today, the temporary vacuum pump, and I'll be able to start sucking air out of the silicone goo. Anyway, that's it for this week on the Cannabis Goldsmith. You were thinking you were going to get a whole show about jewelry? No, you got a whole show about where the Tribe Magazine photographic collection will be going. Now, I'm just so hyped about this. This is a really good fit. I feel it in my bones, and I think you'll appreciate it as well. And I think your grandkids and great-grandkids are going to appreciate it too. So that was the plan, and it's coming together. I'm really quite happy about it. Anyway, today it's Wednesday. I'm in the shop today working and doing leaf casts from the plant today, and looking to make rings for Christmas. If you're thinking about getting something from us for Christmas, you better start thinking now, because time is on the way, and we can only make so many products. Everything is made by hand, so there are only so many products we can make in the run of a year. That's why they're rare, they're desired, they're enjoyed by our customers. So get your order in now for Christmas. We'll have belt buckles. Right now we've got gold tart pearls on the site, and dog buds. We've got dog buds. If you love your dog, you need to get them a cannabis bud cast in solid sterling silver as a charm, because we can do that here at Tribe, and your dog will love you for it. The Cannabis Goldsmith is produced by Tribe Communications, Inc. in the Thousand Islands area of Ontario, Canada. You can see what we do at tribe.ca. Send us an email, alexd@cannabisgoldsmith.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Cannabis Goldsmith.